Hi. Very unusual filming angle. Don't know how this is gonna turn out, but I don't care. I am so tired. My energy is lacking. February wrap up. We're just gonna do this because I got it into my head. I'm here. I got a janky setup. You can see I literally pulled a lamp over so there's some light so this doesn't look horrible. So you can see that light in my glasses. We're just gonna do a February wrap up. This month sucked. I don't even have my stats ready. I just wanted to get this done. So I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books in February. 2 of them were the last 2 books of the Psy-Changeling series, which I talked about at length in January because I ripped through 8 of those books in a row, binged, and it was great for the most part. Oh yes, haircut. But it doesn't look great now because I've been doing this all day because of work and coming home. And oh, also I bought some books. Didn't spend a lot, but I still have some books to talk about. So this angle is awful. Let's not do this again. Also, I don't actually care. Books I bought really quick. There's a different used bookstore in the town next to me that I checked out, and they have a lot of very much focus on sci-fi fantasy. So I now have 2 used bookstores very close to me that have a lot of sci-fi fantasy old vintage paperbacks, which is very exciting. So I'm gonna start delving into that, but I kind of have to like stop myself from getting everything all the time because I can't just keep buying old mass markets and hoard them and then not read them, right? I got the first 2 books of the Mercy Thompson series by Patricia Briggs. This is an urban fantasy series. The first is Moon Called and the second is Bloodbound. This is one of those urban fantasy. There's a couple of like major urban fantasy series that I never read, so Mercy Thompson is definitely one of them. The other one is I think it's by Kim Harrison, the Hollows series. That's another one that I haven't read that I want to visit at some point. So grab these 2. These are probably going to be very easy to find most of the series in paperback. And I love how silly these covers are. Like, I love them. What's next? Oh, no. Okay. We're just going there. Oh, I got Daughter of the Blood by Anne Bishop. So this has been coming up a lot. This is book 1 of the Black Jewels trilogy. I've seen this come up a lot in terms of like people saying that Sarah J. Maas has taken a lot of influence from this. We'll put it, the nicest way possible. But I've also heard a lot of people have a lot of issues with this, especially because of the way it talks about different themes and the way it handles some stuff. So, especially because when was this written? This was published in 1998. So there's kind of like it was different back then, especially writing fantasy and stuff like that. So, I do want to check this out. This is a great cover. I just have to like say it. That's a great cover. I do want to check this out. The back is great too. And we'll see how it goes. Can you tell I didn't prepare for this at all? Yona 43. Yona 43. I'm not ready. That's why I haven't read it yet. I bought it at the very beginning of February, the day it came out. I'm not ready yet. That's Hawk and Swan on the cover. Here's Yona with Swan's fucking bird. Why does she have Swan's bird? I don't know where this is going now, and I am scared and not ready. I don't know. I'm scared. Next thing I picked up was The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan. I have been meaning to try this, I think mostly because Tori, from Tori Morrow, her channel, I'll link her down below. She really, really likes this series, and the way she talks it up is very influencing. So I grabbed this. I did try reading it once upon a time when it first came out, and I soft DNF'd it at the time. I had gotten pretty through it, so I kind of found my way back to where I had gone, the first time. I am going to go back to the start and go through, but if I'm recalling a lot of it, then I'll kind of like skim through back to where I left off the first time. That's why this bookmark isn't here. But I'm very much looking forward to this, especially because this series, this trilogy is done, and he just came out with a sequel trilogy taking place hundreds of years in the future of this world, and I'm very intrigued. Tori, you talked this up, you influenced me. I'm gonna give it a good try eventually when I feel like a person again. I don't know what I'm doing here. Flowers. Okay. And last is my aardvark book for February. I picked Death of the Author by Nnedi Okorafor. I really enjoy Nnedi Okorafor, and this is a very intriguing story about a woman who no, I don't have the energy for it. I am so sorry. You're gonna have to look up the synopsis. I'm intrigued. It's Nnedi Okorafor. I trust her writing a lot. Beautiful colors for this. The first edition, the regular hardcover printing edition, is actually very beautiful. I saw it at Barnes & Noble tonight when I was browsing, and I was like, oh, if I like it, I may end up selling this one and then buying the Barnes & Noble version because it is stunning. That is what I have bought since the last time I checked on what I've bought, which was early February, I think. Let's get to the books. I read 6 books. And when I tell you that February sucked, there's a reason I read only 6 books. It was because almost every single thing I read was not great. Like I said, I finished, all caught up on the Psy-Changeling Trinity series. So I read books 7 and 8. That's Resonance Surge and Primal Mirror. So I gave Resonance Surge 3 stars, and I gave Primal Mirror 4.5 stars. So, okay, Primal Mirror was fantastic. We'll get to that. So, Resonance Surge, and here, so, like, February 3rd was so long ago that I had to go back and, like, read the synopsis for this one, and then go back to my Goodreads review. I have my iPad right here. So this book focuses on a romance between a bear changeling and a Psy. So this bear changeling we've met before. He is part of the bear pack. It is actually Pavel and his twin Yakov. They actually both get focus romanced here, but it is Pavel who is the main romance. So they are twins that we've met. We met in the first book of the Trinity season. It was cute. So Yakov, actually, their nicknames are actually Pasha and Yasha. So Pasha is the main, no, sorry, Yakov is the one who has the main romance. Pavel is the one who has the side romance. Pavel Pasha, is the one who in this series has finally been there to give us queer representation. So we have had bits and pieces of Pasha and Arwen, who is the brother of Silver Merchant from book 1. So we have had like pieces of them building up on their slow building romance, and they get their final romance days in this book. So it is both Pavel and Yakov getting their romances, but the main, it's like, I would say like 60-40 or 70-30 Yakov to Pavel. What did I say? I said for this one, this was a very romance forward book with very little macro plot. And for me, the romances were okay. They were cute, just not for me. And one thing that I have had an issue with in this series, and it was very, very prominent here, is that so often all of the Psy characters that we have as in the romances, they believe that they have done some great wrong, that they are awful, that they have a monster, psychic monster in them. But that never rings true to me, because as a main romance character, as the main character of a book, we are never going to have a character who is actually a monster, who is actually evil. So there's always going to be some reckoning with what they believe themselves to be, you know, a reframing of how they think of themselves or their power. And the exact same fucking thing happens here with the Psy woman, Theo. So it annoyed me, especially after reading so many of these books in a row. So I just didn't really, it was cute. I didn't really care about it. Pasha and Arwen were cute. So this didn't really move a lot of stuff forward in terms of the macro plot. But you know what did? Book 8. So book 8 is Primal Mirror. Now this slapped. This was a banger. Okay, so in book 1 of Psy Trinity, we meet a new changeling pack, a new changeling cat pack, and the alpha is Remy. So this is Remy's moment. Not Trinity book 1, at towards the end of the main season. So like book like 12 or 13 of Trinity, the first season, we meet Remy. And we finally get his romance here. And part of what made me finally dig into this, alongside a couple of friends doing a buddy read of this series, is also like looking at the synopses for each book and recognizing some names that we had started to see towards the end of the first season. And I saw that Remy was here and I was like, ooh, yeah, I want that. This is Remy. Oh yeah, I said this was, okay, book 8. This is the best of the Trinity books since Silver Silence for me, because there was a really great balance of the romance for me and the macro plot, which Silver Silence was. I need a second to remember who the romance was. Like I said, this was a long time ago. A lot of stuff has happened. Oh my god, it's all coming back. Holy fuck. Okay, Remy, this woman Auden comes to live on the land that is next to Remy, where he connected with an arrow the arrows who were kidnapped in like book 13, 14, whatever. So it's tying into like how that setup happened, how we met Remy. So he meets the Psy. Auden, girl, she is probably, of all of the Psy characters in this series who have some kind of like weird or some kind of like dangerous power, dangerous background, something, a ticking time bomb, whatever, she is the one that I fully believed. And she is the one that I had the most sympathy for, because what has been done to her, it was fucked up on so many levels. Like, I'm getting goosebumps again thinking about this. And it's so hard to describe without spoiling the plot. And a lot of like the main reveal of what was happening to her, I kind of sussed out very early on, but that just kind of made the tension for me feel even crazier. And then we still learn a whole bunch of different other things that was happening on top of like the main thing that I'd figured out. But okay, yeah, so Auden Scott, she shows up very pregnant at the start of this book. And a lot of this book has to, content warnings for if you're sensitive to pregnancy and stuff like that. A lot of this book is very heavily about pregnancy, about lack of autonomy in pregnancy, very much about lack of autonomy in pregnancy, like very, very, very heavy trigger warnings for that. There is a birth, she gives birth. I will say, like, the birth was a surprise and, little touch and go, but I don't think it was incredibly traumatic. Maybe traumatic in terms of like everything that has been happening to Auden being wrapped into it. But yeah, oh man, the layers and layers of shit that has been done to this woman that Auden is working through and that Remy is working through with her, it was so good. Like, and it made their romance so good because it forced, like, Remy was drawn to Auden and Auden was kind of drawn to Remy maybe a little bit, but it wasn't that insta love, like saying that they love each other after a certain amount of time, or like Remy saying it after a certain amount of time compared to like the actual actions that have been taken in the book. Yeah, it's very insta lovey in that regard, but it's not insta lovey the way the other characters and romances have been. But it was so good. And everything that is happening with Auden is just so big macro plot. Oh my god. It is insane. I want to talk about it, but it's book 8 in it's season 2 of what is now like a 20-something book series. So like 14 plus 8, whatever that number is, 30. I don't know. I can't math. I can't math. I don't know why I gave it 4.5. I'm probably going to give it I'm going to switch to a 5. But I don't know if it's really like 5-star material. But yeah. Anyways, so finishing that book got me all caught up on Psy-Changeling Trinity. 8 books. I binged 8 books in 2.5 weeks. And I just have to shout out Angela Daw, the narrator, the audiobook narrator. She is like a absolute fucking god tier narrator. She is so good. I cannot talk her up enough. Like, I know people have their favorite like romance novel narrators, but Angela Daw needs to be up there in the discussion of amazing like audiobook narrators, period. After that was done, I was like, what do I do now? Do I just fucking wait for book 9 like a loser? I don't know. What do I do with myself? What I did with myself was read a bunch of shit books. Okay, they weren't all shit, but they weren't all great either. And probably the one that was probably the most disappointing to me, unfortunately, is an arc from an author I enjoy very much. I read an arc of Overgrowth by Myra Grant, aka Seanan McGuire. This is an alien invasion horror story. This is a story about a young girl who she's an alien on Earth, and she tells people that from age 3. Her entire life, she's been telling people that. It's like a compulsion. And finally, it looks like the aliens are finally invading. So what happens in that story? What happens when Earth has been warned for, I think she's like 30, for 30 years, Earth has been warned, and she's not the only one. What happens when they finally arrive? I thought that was so intriguing, but this is really disappointing because I don't know what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting like a hugely bombastic, like, Independence Day alien invasion movie, but also I kind of was, because the last thing I read, that a Myra Grant book I read, was Into the Drowning Deep, which was very disaster movie, sci-fi movie, disaster movie. And this was a lot more meditative on what it means to belong and to be separate, and what it means to inhabit a life and a body where you don't fully believe you belong to the group of people you are, and what happens when like I said, I'm tired, and I am doing this such a disservice because this is an arc. Like, I got this arc to review, but this month has just wiped me entirely, and I really just don't know how to review this. This is, I want to say, a more quiet alien invasion story compared to the big bombast like Independence Day. It is about this character and her friends that she has loved, and has, her little found family, her boyfriend. The main character's boyfriend is trans, so there's very major trans rep in this, which is fantastic. And it's about her grappling with her found family, like belonging to the found family that she's created for herself, and her actual alien family coming to her, and what it means when her found family, her found planet, rejects her, and how the bonds of her actual found family, her friends, her boyfriend, hold together or don't as, disaster looms. There's a lot else happening too, which I kind of was like, which kind of half plays into like disaster movie, alien disaster movie kind of thing, but also doesn't. This felt very disjointed to me, and I also didn't like a lot of the characters. I really hated this one character who very aggressive to our main character and other characters, and always just a big old bitch. And you know what? You can be a big old bitch, but it just got very grating and annoying after a while. And I think it was meant to be like kind of a little quirky, but I didn't like it. I wish I liked this more because I really enjoy Seanan McGuire's work, Myra Grant's work, but it just didn't do it for me. And I very much wish I had the energy and the brain capacity to talk about this better. So I don't know. It was a huge disappointment for me. So unfortunately, I rated it 3 stars, 2.5, because in my rating scale, a 2 is it was okay, and a 3 was liked it. I didn't quite like it, but it wasn't just okay, so 2.5. Next is a 1-star review, and I hate read this book by the end. So this is very much like The God in the Gumiho that I read last month. I read Wild Massive by Scotto more. And this was an intriguing plot, intriguing premise, And then I got to a point where I kept going, but I was hating every minute of it, but I wanted to keep going to see where it would go next. In Wild Massive, Wild Massive itself, it takes place in essentially what is a 1,000,000 floor skyscraper, which each floor of the skyscraper is like its own little pocket universe, okay? And you take these elevators between floors, and there are undiscovered floors, undiscovered worlds, undiscovered floors. There are people who explore these worlds. Our first main character that we're introduced to, she is fleeing from a world. She's like the last of her people, and she's been living in she's like kind of hijacked an elevator and has been living in it for like 5 years, until the day that a character from a different world falls onto her elevator and she saves them, and that propels her out of her elevator and into this madcap journey. So that's her first character. Our second character is from the world of the character that falls onto the elevator. So this character has escaped his world and is trying to warn the big global corporation about like a big attack that's going to happen. And the other character we follow is the one character from this world of these, like, they're like shapeshifters, so they're all non-binary. This character is sort of tasked, they essentially are a WMD, and they're tasked with shutting down this big corporations, like, that they're kind of at war with. This big corporation has like the secret thing going on, secret weapons project essentially going on, that would end their world, and you know, they would lose the war. And then we have a third character. This is where things really started to go off the rails for me. Okay, so Wild Massive, big skyscraper, millions of floors. Each floor is a pocket universe, and then like you never reach the top of the building. You can't ever get to the top because between the floors and the top floor there's like a big chasm or something. And if this sounds like it's not making sense, it's because it's not fucking making sense. So we have our one main character who lived in the elevator for 5 years and is the last of like her kind. We have the second main character who is part of this one race that is at war with the main big greedy corporation that runs like a majority of the floors. Third main character who, this third main character, she has like a touch of clairvoyance, and in the way she does it is by writing. And she essentially is writing the story of what is going to happen. And as she writes the story, she can only see like a day in advance. She kind of gets hits for like things that'll actually happen. So she gets a hit that our first character, I think it's Cassie, is going to show up in this theme park. Oh yeah, Wild Massive is the name of a theme park. This book is very big on theme parks, where this writer character, I don't even remember their names, writer character sees that Cassie is going to be in the theme park and links up with her there. And they escape, or Cassie escapes. I just, trying to remember what the plot was is hard, but I remember the feeling. So everything I've told you, Cassie is helping this one character on the run, blah, blah, blah. And then we get to like 30%, and we get to this moment that feels like the fucking climax of a whole novel. And then we move past that, and there's still 70% of the book to go. And then the book just starts going into more of like the war between the shapeshifter creatures and the big corporation galactic overlords, right? And they have their own like Space Force kind of situation with all these characters who they're like a special ops team and stuff. And the writer character, the Wild Massive theme park, also, they do this TV show that features these characters, and it's kind of like the history of everything that has been happening in the world of this skyscraper. And I just, and then on top of that, I I literally don't know how to go on and explain this to you, because this book, and I'm just going to read my fucking Goodreads with you. This started with one interesting concept, then another one, and another one, and another, and another, and another, and another, and another, and another, and it was a hate read by the end. I said my review was to come. It's not going to happen when I can sort through my thoughts, because this is 5 books in a trench coat and I'm still mentally screaming about it. And now that I'm going back to it, I just my brain is screaming, trying to remember everything that happened in this book. And you know what? I finished the book and it got to the author's acknowledgments. And he talks about how this book is about 4 different fucking ideas that he's written in the past since his burgeoning, because he used to be like a theater writer, screenplay, whatever. Yeah, he's written like 4 different fucking separate things that he put all in this book. So this book is about the skyscraper. This book is about capitalism. This book is about writing, and this book is about meta of writing. This book it has tongue-in-cheek capitalist Silicon Valley bro like shit with the writing stuff. This book is about theme parks and how much people love theme parks. This book is about colonialism. This book is about everything. And it gets to a point where you can't put everything in the book. You just can't. And I am getting worked up again because I can't even tell you what this book is about, because it's about 500 different fucking things. And that is the reason why I kept reading and hate reading, because I wanted to see just how far this fucking author would go. And you know what? It didn't even end satisfyingly. It just kind of ends, and not in a way that would make sense to end. It just fucking ends with no wrap up, no nothing. It just ends. And there was I fucking hated this book. I hated this book. I hated the fact that I read it. I hate the fact that I was compelled to keep reading it to see what the fuck the author is going to throw at me. I hate the fact that just thinking about it makes me want to scream. And I'm going to stop now because I have worked myself up. Hated this. Hated. More than The God in the Gumiho, because The God in the Gumiho had tried to have a plot. It had a plot. It had a very specific through-line plot. I hated this book. I don't remember if I said, but that was a 1 star. 1 star for me is I hated it. Okay. Next, I read I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman. This has kind of been very popular in the last couple of years, so I finally read it. I gave it 2.5 stars because this is just going to make me sound pretentious, and I'm just going to have to sound pretentious, but my bachelor's is in philosophy, and this didn't do anything for me that I didn't feel when I was doing my bachelor's. I can see why this has deeply affected some people. And those who read it, who love it, who really get the themes from it. I understand the themes that it's exploring, the themes of loneliness, the themes of personhood, the themes of womanhood, the themes of what being human means and what it means to strive for knowledge and experience. And so I get the themes. I get that this was it was very dissatisfying ending, but that wasn't the point of the book. This is a story of 49 women who are trapped underground in a jail cell in a bunker. And the 50th person is a child who ended up there. And then she's a teenager when the book starts. And one day something happens and all the guards that guard over them run out and they accidentally leave the key in their cage. And after a little while, the child unlocks the gate and goes outside, and everybody has disappeared. All the guards have disappeared, no sign of them. So then we follow these women as they go onto the surface and try to figure out what to do next. And I will leave it there because that is all that I have known of this book going in, and I think that's a really great way to go into the book. I didn't get a lot from this. Like I said, I didn't get a lot from this that I haven't really pondered or read or tried to think through in my own way when I was doing my undergrad. So this didn't really do much for me, but it is very well written, very accessible, and I can see why it affects people. Like, it's very interesting themes that are being explored here. The setup of the story is very compelling and engaging, and it keeps you reading because you kind of want to know more of what is going on in this weird like story. But in doing that, and the author pulling you along by your curiosity, you then are absorbing all of these thematic ideas. I forget who I was listening to talk about this. I think Mara from Books Like Woe recently read and reviewed this, and she said this is the kind of thing where, like, a literary dystopian, this is what you want a book in this genre to do. You want it like you have some kind of weird dystopian story that all these themes and character work is built on, and it makes you think, it makes you philosophize, it makes you reflect, and it's done really well. I just didn't get anything from it, so I didn't really feel anything from it. Very well written, very good at what it's doing, but I personally did not get much from it. So I gave it, like, I put 3 stars on Goodreads because there's no half stars, but it felt like a 2.5 to me. Like, it was okay and liked it. I didn't really like it. And this is one of those where, like, rating it objectively is probably the better thing to do, but even objectively would still be 3 stars to me, so 2.5 feels fine for me. Okay, last thing I read this month was The Last Party by Clare Mackintosh. This is a murder mystery thriller book set in Wales, following a Welsh detective, and it's set on this lake where, like, one side of the lake is Wales, the other side of the lake is England. A bunch of English people have built, like, these cabins on one side of the lake, and the Welsh locals don't really like that, and the man who came up with the idea, who was originally from the Welsh town, went out, became famous, as a famous singer, came back and built these cabins, and he turns up dead on New Year's Day. Follow our main character, Fionn, who is a police officer detective for the Welsh police force. She's investigating this with a British colleague, Leo. And essentially it's Leo and Fionn are the main characters. This was fine. It was okay to start with, I think. But the problem for me is that as we get to know more characters, because, you have a cast of characters, you have a whole village of suspects. So every time that we had a flashback to, a different kind of, we had different flashbacks to different characters. Every time we had a flashback to a character interacting with the murder victim, it just started to get so, I could not suspend my disbelief anymore, because it just started to get, like, in order to make everybody a suspect, this murder victim had to be the most despicable fucking human being ever. He was a rapist, he child abuse, cheater, just sexually assaulting people left and right, just some other stuff that are kind of reveals that I'm not going to spoil. And it just, like, it was just bam, thing after thing after thing after thing after thing. And you just had to keep making him do terrible things to people to make those people seem like suspects, to create a large suspect pool, to kind of, like, create white noise to hide your actual murderer. I couldn't take it after a while. It just felt so ridiculous after a while. And one thing also, like, the main thing, essentially from the start to me, is that Fionn should have never been on this case to start with. Period. Not when she is from the small town across the lake from the cabins. Not when every suspect is someone she's grown up with. Not when one of these suspects who would... And then there are a lot of big reveals, and there's one reveal that just felt like the big, major, massive reveal. If you've read this book, you know the main massive reveal. I didn't like that. I thought that was just so... I don't know. I don't think it was handled well. I didn't like that it served as a big plot twist, especially for what the reveal is. It rubbed me the wrong way. It's a 2.5 because it was decently written. The characters, Fionn and Leo, are very human. They have their faults. I didn't quite like them as characters, but I think that's more on the positive side of the writing, because it's very hard to read characters who are so human and have faults like this. So that is a positive to the character work and the writing. This is like a buddy read of this series in my book club. I might try the second book to see how, you know, it like the writing changes or improves, see how I feel about it. But yeah, this one didn't do it for me. I was hoping that, like, you know, a compulsive thriller would be great to end the month, but it didn't. Also, I didn't actually mean for that to be the last book of the month. Here I was forgetting it's February, so I finished it on February 26th, and I was like, oh, I can fit in one more book this month. No, February only has 28 days. So yeah, that's everything I read in February. I'm very tired. I hope this was just fine. It's gonna be interesting to see this coming back when I edit it. 6 books. Resonance Surge, 3 stars. Primal Mirror, 4.5 stars. Great way to wrap up my binge of Psy-Changeling Trinity. Overgrowth by Mira Grant, 2.5 stars. Wild Massive by Scotto, 1 hateful star. I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman, 2.5 stars. The Last Party by Clare, Mackintosh, 2.5 stars. Not a good reading month. If I had my stats, if I had everything like laid out, I'd probably have a shit average score. The least amount of books I've read in a month in a very long time, like only 6 books. But I'm not surprised, nor am I upset by that. So that's that. I'm very tired. My brain is dead and has been for about 3 months now. It's a miracle that I read as much as I did in January. And I big ups to Nalini Singh for writing Trinity, and just, yeah. Okay. That's it. Low key. Oh, I did get a set of nails on again, and you can kind of see these are cat eye nails, which my nail tech did in like kind of a French tip situation. I'm obsessed. Yes. I literally just kind of like spend like 30 seconds every now and then out of my day just doing this, watching the glitter. Anyways, yeah. Thanks for watching as always, and I will catch you next time.